Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm doing my August 2021 wrap up and I read 12 books this August, which is a little bit less than I have normally been reading this year. I've been a little bit slumpy this month, and in fact quite a few of the books that I read were these little penguin mini modern classics. These are the 5 that I still have to read actually, so no spoilers about when I have read unless you follow me on Goodreads. But I will be doing a separate video talking about a bunch of these. I'm going to do like a bulk review type thing. And talk about them because I have mixed feelings on them. Some of them are really great, other ones are really just like not for me, as you'd expect from a collection of 50 different authors. But yeah, subscribe if you're not already and you're interested in that, or if you're already subscribed, keep an eye out, it'll be coming at some point soon. But yeah, I also read the first 2 books in the Wayward Children series by Sean Maguire this month. I read Every Heart a Doorway and Sticks and Stones Tumbling Down something. I can't remember what the title was, the Jack and Jill one anyway, book 2. And I will be doing a whole separate video on those once I have caught up with all the books that are currently released in that series, because I think it'll be fun to just do like an overall video talking about the entire series instead of sprinkling it throughout wrap-ups, because they are all novellas, so they're quite short. So hopefully I'll finish it in the next like month or so. So yeah, without any further ado, I'll jump into the books that I have read this month other than those ones, and I hope you enjoy. The first book that I read in August was Breach of Peace by Daniel Green, who is a fellow booktuber who I do like his videos. I'm not actually subscribed because he puts out like daily videos and a lot of them I'm just like not interested in, but I do watch him from time to time. So he self-published this book. It is the first one in a series and it's a little short novella, and it follows a squad of police officers in this fantasy world who are investigating a crime scene, and from there they discover this huge conspiracy theory that gets completely out of control, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. To be honest, it probably was a 3-star, but with self-published books I am always like a little bit more lenient and a little bit more generous. I don't know, I just think it's nice to support self-published authors and give them an extra star, because I mean, what's the harm? But yeah, I did enjoy it. I thought that the character relationships were quite interesting. We had a husband and wife, and we had like a strong rivalry within the team as well, or the squad. What would you call a police group of people? A police squad? I don't know. But yeah, the relationships were really integral to the story, and I liked how, even though this was a short novella, so we didn't spend that much time with the characters, I personally got quite invested in their story and their relationships and the dynamics between them. And I think it's really easy to pick up on who everyone was, what their role was, and that type of thing. And I just really enjoyed it, to be honest. But I will say that it was a little bit forgettable. I think this is just because it was a novella, so it was pretty short. But I really am struggling at this point now to remember like the ending. But I do know that I enjoyed it at the time, and I definitely will read anything else that Daniel Green puts out. I think it's an interesting start to a new fantasy world, and I'm excited to see what he does in the future. The next book that I read was Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia, and I read this for a vlog reading TB Kane's favourite books. He's one of my booktube friends from my group chat, the infamous group chat, and he's a host of Trick or Treat-a-thon. If you have not seen my Trick or Treat-a-thon announcement video, link down below, go check it out. It's going to be our readathon hosted all throughout October, and I'm really excited about it. But anyway, Mexican Gothic, I had heard a lot of mixed things about. Some people really loved it. For example, TB, it's one of his favourites, and then a lot of other people really disliked it, really didn't get it, and I didn't know how it would land, so I decided to give it a chance, and I am glad that I did because I really liked it in the end. I am a big fan of, like Rebecca, Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights, those type of gothic, slightly horror-ish but romantic novels. So this was really up my alley. It had everything I love. It had like the big manor house, the creepy isolated like setting, the fog, like the house staff getting involved and like you can't really trust them. I love that in a story when like the staff in these big manors are like integral characters. I just think that it's perfectly done. So yeah, I thought the characters were all really interesting, but I didn't think they were very unique, I will say. I felt like they all fell into kind of archetypes of the characters you would expect to be in this story, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just, worth pointing out that they weren't the most unique characters. But I did really enjoy it overall. There was a lot more fantasy in the end, which I wasn't really expecting, but that was interesting. And overall, I'm glad I enjoyed it. listen to it. I should say I listened to this on audiobook, and I would highly recommend it if you're going to read it. I thought the audiobook was really great. There were definitely points where I think if I was reading physically, I would have got a little bit bored, but with the audiobook, I kept my interest the whole way through. So yeah, I am glad that I gave it a chance and found my own opinion of Mexican Gothic, but I would definitely give it a chance if you are intrigued by the premise at all. Next, I read Heartless by Marissa Meyer, and this is a prequel to Alice in Wonderland, following the Queen of Hearts before she is the Queen of Hearts, when she's just a normal girl in the Kingdom of Wonderland. And I did enjoy this. I will say I am a huge Alice in Wonderland fan. It's my favourite children's book ever, I would say. Definitely my favourite children's classic. Like, there's just something about it that I really love, and I love like how nonsensical it is and how lyrical and stuff like that, and how it's just like so creative. So something I'm always hesitant about is when people reimagine it or retell it, or for example, this is a prequel, they're obviously transferring the nonsensical nature of Alice in Wonderland into a proper novel, like with chapters and story progression and stuff that makes sense. And I feel like some of the magic of Alice in Wonderland is lost when you do that. However, I think that Marissa Meyer balanced it correctly and like making it still definitely feel like Alice in Wonderland's world of Wonderland, while obviously making it into a novel with a start, middle and end. So I think that she done quite well, far better than Alice by Christina Hendry, which is my least favourite book of all time. But yeah, so once I got over all of that, I thought that Catherine, who is the Queen of Hearts before she's Queen of Hearts, was an interesting character. At times I felt like I couldn't really sympathise with her because I felt like she was being a little bit ridiculous. Like, obviously she had her own hopes and dreams and stuff, and she doesn't want to marry the king, but I was like, just marry the king, okay? Like, who doesn't want to be queen or king? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I just found her a little bit unsympathetic, but I do think that the progression of her from this normal girl into the like cruel Queen of Hearts that we know from Alice in Wonderland made sense. It didn't seem like too out of the realm of possibilities for her character. And I think that overall it was enjoyable. I would never reread it. I don't think I would really recommend it that much. I think that Renegades by Marissa Meyer is like a far superior series. The Lunar Chronicles I'm not the biggest fan of, like they're okay, but yeah, I thought this was like definitely worth the read if you're like interested, but it's nothing special. Next, I read Go Tell It on the Mountain by James Baldwin, who is one of my favourite authors, so I was really excited to read this book, and sadly it was so boring. The premise of it is that we are following this young boy as he grows up in the church and his relationship with religion, while also being bisexual, because this is a pretty autobiographical account of James Baldwin's teenager years / early adulthood. And sadly, it's just so boring, and that's also not really what the book actually is. The majority of the book follows in flashbacks his father, his mother, his aunt, I feel like someone else, but I can't really remember. Like, we get a lot of backstory on all of them and their relationships, and how his father then becomes a priest, and then obviously his father is then influencing him to be part of the church, and it's all about like their relationship and his relationship with the church and all these character relationships, which could be really interesting, but it just wasn't. There was so much like information about like the church, but not even information, just like we would sit through sermons and prayers and it would go on for pages and pages and pages of just like his father like preaching and talking about God and stuff, which I liked religious imagery, but this was just too much. Like, this wasn't even religious imagery, this was just like as if someone went to a church and sat and like noted down a sermon, like, or a preach, I don't know, I'm not a church person, I don't know what you call it, but it was just like so boring. It went on for so long. I ended up like skimming pages and then I still didn't miss anything. And then the other thing is, because we jump back and forth between so many different characters in different points of time, it's not clear at all where we are or who we're following. Like, you kind of have to use context clues to realise for yourself like which character we're actually following right now. And I was getting so confused. I ended up going on Wikipedia and looking up like a list of characters, because it turns out like his father had like a previous wife, so he was like talking to this wife, and I was like, this isn't making sense with like what I already know about his wife. Like, it just really confused me, and I don't like non-linear stories, to be honest. Like, it's not really my thing. And then like the church stuff was just too much. So overall, this book was a bust. And then the final book that I'm going to talk about in this video, I reread The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I've talked about Sylvia Plath in the last maybe 3 or 4 wrap-ups. I'm just obsessed with her and with The Bell Jar and her poetry, and I'm actually reading one of her poetry books right now. I'm reading Crossing the Water. But yeah, I just was in the mood to reread something, and I was like, you know what? I always want to reread The Bell Jar, but because I literally just read it for the first time a couple months ago, I was like, I kept putting it off, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. Like, it's my life, I can do what I want. So I reread The Bell Jar. If you don't know, The Bell Jar is a pretty autobiographical account. Actually, kind of similar to Go Tell It on the Mountain, like, pretty much her real life, but she just, like, changed some of the details about, and like, characters' names and stuff. But anyway, we follow our main character as she goes to New York to do an internship, and then she comes home and falls into depression and tries to commit suicide, and then goes to a mental hospital. And I feel like I'm giving you spoilers, but then also, like, that is everyone knows that's the premise of the book. Like, you know, it's not a book that, like, you can really spoil. I don't know. I just love it. Like, I just love it. I love the writing style. I love Sylvia Plath as a person. Like, I'm just, like, obsessed with her right now. I don't know why. Like, I just get in these moods where I'm just obsessed with people. And right now it's Sylvia Plath and Elvis. Like, the two of them, for some reason, are just, like, in my soul right now. But yeah, I don't really have anything to say that I've not said before about The Bell Jar. It just, like, speaks to me on such a spiritual level. I love it. Like, the fig tree quote, oh my god, I want to get it, like, tattooed somehow, but it's such a long quote, I'm obviously not going to get the full quote tattooed. And I was like, maybe I could get, like, a fig, like, tattooed. And then I looked up what a fig actually looks like, and they're so ugly. I was like, I'm not getting it on my body. So I don't know, like, and as people, I looked up, someone got, like, a bell jar tattooed on them, but it literally just looks like a condom. So I don't know how I'm going to do it, or if I'm going to do it. But anyway, this is all to say that I read The Bell Jar, and it's still my favourite book of all time. So those were not all of the books that I read in August, obviously, but I will be doing separate videos on these Penguin mini modern classics at some point. I kind of want to film it today, but then also I didn't prepare for it. So I don't know. You might see it soon, you might see it later, you might see it never. And I'll also obviously be making a video about the Wayward Children series at some point in the future as well. So if you want to see those videos, hit the subscribe button, or if you're already subscribed, keep an eye out. I've never told anyone to hit the bell because I have never hit the bell button for a single person in my life. Like, even my most favourite YouTubers, like Trisha, I've never hit the bell button, but if you want to, it's there. And please leave a like if you like this video, and if you have read any of these books, let me know your thoughts. If you want to read them now because of me, let me know. If you want to read The Bell Jar, talk to me about it. If you have read The Bell Jar, like, if anyone ever wants to talk about The Bell Jar or Sylvia Plath in any way, message me. Like, I'm here for it. And without any further ado, because I'm just rambling at this point, I will see you in my next video.